Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for our webinar, Accessible Educational Materials, Getting the Most from Bookshare. I'm Kimberly Berry, AT teacher for AbleTech. Shelley Gladden is helping to facilitate, and she'll be watching the chat box, and she may break in with some announcements during the webinar. Let's find out who's joining us today. Using the chat box, please tell us your name, your role in education, and what you hope to learn today. If you have specific questions, you can enter them now or at any time during the webinar. I wanted to mention that certificates will be sent to those of you who are joining us live, and they also will be available to educators who view our archived recording, which will be posted to our website as soon as we have it recorded and captioned. If you do watch that and want to get your certificate, you can email me directly at kimberly.berry@okstate.edu. We'll also have that contact information a little bit later. Today we'll be sharing tips for obtaining accessible digital text for students who have difficulty comprehending standard printed or electronic text. The webinar will include live demonstrations of searching for books, downloading books to read on iPads, and also reading books through a web browser. We'll also cover eligibility requirements and how to create accounts and sign up your students. The objectives for today: identify features of accessible digital text, define print disability, and demonstrate the process for providing curricular materials from Bookshare. So the features of accessible digital text are dual color highlighting, customizable fonts, such as the dyslexia font, Beeline font, and others that are designed to help individuals with dyslexia or other reading disabilities to distinguish letters and improve eye tracking, and also text-to-speech with customizable voices and adjustable reading speed. Now, before we go too much farther, I want to go ahead and share my webcam, and I want to just show you what I'm talking about on an iPad. That's kind of the best way to show you. So let me make sure I've got the screen in focus and at a good angle. And Shelley, you please tell me if what I'm showing isn't in view very well.
No, it looks great.
Okay. All right. So I have a couple of iPads. I've already pulled up books because I just want to quickly show what we're talking about. This iPad has the Voice Dream Reader app, and I have a book pulled up. This is Chrysanthemum. Um, it's got white letters and black background. The highlighting is in blue. Looks like it has gray on this line that's going to be the sentence. As you can see, the words are enlarged quite largely. When I play it, you'll hear the voice, hopefully.
This accessible media has been made available to people with bona fide disabilities that affect reading. This notice tells you about restrictions on the use of this
All right, so just an example, that's one voice. That could be changed, could be slowed down, speeded up, switch to a different voice. I'm going to go ahead and just switch over to a different iPad that has another book pulled up just to show another background. So this has a lighter background. The text is actually enlarged even further. Um, I have a female voice. Could you all hear that at all when I played it? Any answers?
Yes,
You
yes,
could.
Kimberly, it sounded good.
Okay, good. I'm gonna play this one then. Just it'll be a different voice.
It is a truth universally acknowledged that a single man in possession of a good fortune must be in want of a wife. However little known the feelings or views of such a man.
Okay, so to change audio settings, let me get this in the right view. I might have to move my camera a little bit. To change the audio settings, there's a setting button up at the top. Forgive me. Okay, and I can just, it's a slider bar. I can change the rate of speed of speech really easily.
However little known the feelings or views of such a man. This truth is so well fixed in the minds of the surrounding families that he is considered the rightful property.
I think that might have been a little fast, but that's just to demonstrate, the capabilities. You can make it go really fast if you wanted to. You can also change the voices. Looks like the focus might go out of focus here, but there's You can just tap on manage my voices, and then all these different voices come up. Let's get in focus, and you can choose what voice you want. It's got male, female, all different accents, uh, even other languages, but we're not going to adjust those today. And then in the visual settings, you can change, it's very similar. Let's see if I can get it in focus. All right, you can change it from plain text to rich text, and then that gives you slightly different views. You can change the font and the spacing, so you could actually make it so that there's more space between the lines and between the letters. You can make the margins bigger, just for certain people that need a little bit more white space, to help them read whatever their impairment is. You can change the text font size. That was pretty big, but when I move the slider bar down, you can see that it made the text quite a bit smaller. Can also easily, hopefully easily, you're supposed to be able to restore it to the defaults, but it's not on this screen. Um, at any rate, I wanted to show that that is what we're talking about when we say we have accessible digital text. Something else I want to point out right now, we are going to talk about Bookshare, but with this app, which is called the Voice Dream Reader, you don't have to have a print disability to have this app and use these features that you need. So um, I happen to have my cell phone. I have the Voice Dream Reader app, and I have books on it, and I have documents on it, and I don't have a print disability. But anything that I'm able to get on the internet or get in a Word doc or a PDF, I can open and read. As an example, this is a real estate book. If you have something you want to read digitally, you can get that app and you can use these accessibility features without having a disability. All right, so now we're going to go back to our PowerPoint. I'm going to stop sharing my webcam. Hopefully we are back to seeing the PowerPoint. Let me know if we're not. So, accessible book reading apps. I just talked about the Voice Dream Reader. There are a few others. Read to Go is one that's been commonly used for quite some time. Capty Narrator is another, and as well as Darwin Reader. Now, Capty Narrator, Darwin Reader, and Voice Dream Reader all can be used with other sources in addition to Bookshare. So that can be really important if you have students who, for some reason, don't qualify for Bookshare. Not qualified as having a print disability, but if they really need those features or you think they could benefit, there's nothing stopping them from using these types of apps. An app that works with or when you want to read these books in a web browser, you use a web extension, which downloads automatically through the browser. And we will be showing that in just a moment. So you can use a desktop, laptop, MacBook, Chromebook, basically any device that you can see a browser, you could use the web reader. For students who for students who need accessible text, but you can't find what you're looking for on Bookshare, so let's say they don't have the textbook that you're looking for because you have an older textbook that you're teaching from in your school, or you have worksheets that you are just, they've just been handed out, then you need an assistive technology device to render that text accessible. So some of those apps or devices include the Claro reader, the KNFB reader, and Seeing AI. Those are apps for tablets and mobile devices that will use the device camera to take a picture of what you're reading and then do optical character recognition and read it out loud. And then standalone devices that will do some similar things include the C Pen reader pen, which is just a pen that slides along the text and then reads it out loud, and it will even provide definitions for words. The Prodigy and the Mat Connect are two portable video magnifiers, but they also have text to speech, so they will read the text out loud. They actually include a tablet computer, so you have lots of other functionality with searching the internet. All right. How do you tell if your student needs accessible digital text? Well, there are assessment tools and resources. A couple listed here include the Functional Vision Assessment, Learning Media Assessment, and the PAR or the UPAR. These assessments are beyond the scope of today's training, but if you need help with this, then please visit the AT Assessment Resources and Consultation webpage. It's on the Able Tech website, and I'll give the web address at the end of this training. If your student does need accessible digital text, then Bookshare is a great place to get it. It's free thanks to funding from the U.S. Department of Education, Office of Special Education Programs. And AbleTech provides free training and support for using Bookshare through our contract with the Oklahoma State Department of Education. As I mentioned earlier, a student must have a print disability to qualify, though. And so let's define that. A print disability means that an individual has one or more of the following: visual impairment, physical disability, or learning disability. And the asterisk there is that the disability needs to prevent access to standard text. So if the student has a physical disability that keeps them from picking up a book, turning pages, things like that, then that would be what qualifies them for needing accessible digital text and having a print disability. Similarly with the learning disability, if their learning disability prevents them from being able to comprehend that text that they can see, then that's a print disability. Especially if you are reading grade level text to a student and they're able to comprehend it, but yet they couldn't comprehend it if they had to read it themselves. That's kind of the down and dirty definition of what a print disability is. So the best practice for using Bookshare is that schools provide curricular materials for eligible students through an organizational account. So that would be textbooks, any assigned reading, any workbooks, novels, anything that is considered the curricular materials. You should be able to get from Bookshare through that organizational account, but the educator has to assign it to the student. The student is able to select additional titles only if they have an individual account that's linked to that school account. So it's a really important extra step that we need you to do just to give that student what they need. Otherwise, the only thing that they have access to is the required reading. So if we want to help develop a love of reading and try to help students pursue their interests, then we want to make sure that we help them get an individual account that is linked to your organizational account. Okay, now's the time. We're going to try to do some demonstration really fast. These are some of the things that I want to try to show you. We looked for a minute at the iPad with Voice Dream Reader. We're going to look at the Bookshare web reader in the Google Chrome browser. I'll give a quick overview of the Bookshare website, show you how to create organizational accounts, add sponsors and members, and individual accounts, and then we'll try searching for some books and creating reading lists, and hopefully we won't run out of time. And I'm going to try to show you how to download the books and open them in a browser. All right, so I'm going to quickly switch over to the Google Chrome browser, because that is where we can see how a student would read a book. I'm already logged in to the demo account, so I'm not sure if you can really see my mouse, but I'm over here on the left side of the screen, and I'm under My Bookshare, and I'm going to click on My Reading Lists, and I'm just going to find a book that's already been saved for a student. I'm going to slide this over a little bit so that I can see it better. Let's see. Well, that didn't work so well. So there's several different reading lists that have been saved. Let's hope I select the right one. I'm clicking on one of the reading lists. The first book that pops up, Mark Twain. I am seeing a Read Now button under the Action. If I click on that, it should open up in the web browser. So the first time that you open a book in your browser, it may prompt you to download an extension so that you can read so that it will provide the text to speech. This book took just a second to download. The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn. Up in the upper right hand side is a speaker, and that button is the one that you use to make it speak out loud. But you can use the forward and reverse buttons to move throughout the book, as well as the navigation pane. This particular book doesn't have a lot of navigation in it. If it Some of the books will have, all the chapters listed out, so it just depends on how it's been formatted. But you can go forward and back, go through the table of contents, click on the main part of the book. You should be able to double click on the text where you want it to start reading, and then click on the speaker and should read out loud.
Persons attempting to find a motive in this narrative will be prosecuted.
But that's how you read a book in the web reader. I'm going to switch over now to a different browser, just because I had to open it up in a different browser to be in a different account. So in Chrome, I was in the account that shows the demonstration as if you were a student. Now I'm in a different browser and I'm logged in as if I were an organization. So I want to show you quickly how it works when you're creating reading lists and searching for books. Again, it's just like the other. Anytime you're logged into your account, then you have My Bookshare on the left-hand side. You have a list of things you can do. You can see my history, all the books you've read or downloaded before or searched for, my reading lists, members, sponsors. We're going to ignore the rest. These are the important ones. Members are students, sponsors are teachers. So if you have your account, we're going to assume everybody has an account already, but you want to add more teachers to your account after they've had the good training and understand how Bookshare works. Then you click on sponsors, and it brings up the roster of the teachers that are already signed up as sponsors. And then you scroll to the bottom, click add sponsor, and then a form builder comes up, and you just fill it out. The name of the teacher, the title, the district. The important thing to say here is that you need to give them a good email that the teacher will be checking, and give the teacher a heads up that they'll be receiving the email from Bookshare, because that's what they have to reply to in order to set their password. And then once you have that filled out, Bookshare sends them the member agreement that they have to sign, to agree to, reply to, agree to. And then your teachers are able to sign up the kids that qualify underneath. So when you're ready to sign up your students, back under My Bookshare, you click on members, very similarly to adding the teachers as sponsors. But this time you need a little bit more information about your students. So before you get ready to do this, you'll want to gather the information about the students who you've determined qualify. Again, you see the roster of all the students who have already been signed up. This is a demonstration account, so these are just made up names. At the bottom, you can click on Add Member, and when you do that, then the form pops up, and you have to have their name, first name, last name, birth date. You need to have the correct one. Don't guess and then try to fix it later. Bookshare they're not real happy when you do that. The grade they're in. At this point, you are able to assign the student a username and a password. And the really important things to note here are that you want to make it a username that the student will be able to remember. If you've got some system at your school that you're already using for passwords, by all means, just give them that same login. For password, same thing. Make it something that the student's going to be able to enter. And the really, really important thing is that you need to write those down immediately, because once you click save on this, you can't get back to it, and it's going to be hidden from you. You actually won't be able to tell what the student's password is that you assigned them. It'll be a process for you to try to retrieve that. So, um, it's very important when you're assigning these, write it down right away. And then you can share it with your student or with their parents, and then keep the copy for yourself as well. Um, Filling out the district and the school, that's up to you, how you want to do that in your district. The really important thing here is certifying what kind of a disability they have. They could have visual, they could have learning, they could have physical. They could have all three at once, or they could have just one or just two, but they have to have at least one. They can't have none. And then for the plans, they could have an IEP or they could have a 504. They really can't have both. It lets you check both, but you need to check, which one they really have. They don't have to have a plan, actually. That's kind of the thing here. With Bookshare, you just have to have a print disability. You're most likely not going to be serving them or helping them if they don't have one or the other, but they could have a membership. The really important thing to click is if they have an IEP, then definitely click that, because there are certain books that become available to the student if they have an IEP that would not be available to them if they don't have an IEP. So just be sure and click that. Under reading preferences, you can really normally just leave it at the default. It's set to get the books that have the pictures with the high resolution. The only time you might need to be changing it is if you have a student who's using audio only, no text, no visual text, or if they're using Braille, like electronic Braille, strictly sent to their refreshable Braille display. Then you need to be checking what type of Braille they're using. Otherwise, leave them where they are, click save. And I'm going to cancel because I wasn't filling it out. So then that creates that membership for them. And what that's going to allow you to do is create the reading list, search for their books, assign them to the students, and then the student using that login and password can then go online, get in the Bookshare website, and then select the books that you selected for them, and they can read them or download them to a device. If you want to help them get that individual membership, that's one extra step. On this roster, we can see that all of these students only have an organizational membership. In this table, it's got their name, username, district, all of that. And under membership, if they had an individual, it would have said organization plus individual, and that's what we want to help them get. And the way you do that, you just click the box to the left of their name, scroll down to the bottom again, and then click under more actions, add individual membership. And at that point, you're able to put in the email address if you know the email, which is going to end up being their login. So it needs to be like the student's email address if they're of an age that they can handle email and logging in on their own. Otherwise, you could give it to the parent's email, or you can download it you can download the form to submit rather than sending it as an email. That way, when the parent gets the printed form that you give them, then they can put the email address that they want their child to be able to access Bookshare through, and then you submit it. Once this has happened, then the student is able to select their own books that they want. I'm going to pause or just a second, make sure, are there any questions up to this point?
Yeah, Kimberly, Alicia does have a question if you want to take a look at that.
Yes, Alicia Alaska, could they use for ESL, so English as a second language? That's where that assistive technology would come in that can provide these features, but the source for Bookshare is only if you have a disability. So, being from another country, speaking, not being a native English speaker doesn't qualify them for Bookshare. I mean, if they did have a print disability, then certainly they'd qualify, and there are lots of books, in Spanish or in some other languages, but that doesn't qualify them for Bookshare. But that is where, Voice Dream Reader, you don't have to have a disability to read it, and you can get books from a variety of sources to read in that app. So, and assistive technology to read these things out loud. you could use that. There you don't have to have there's no requirement to have a disability in order to use a device that provides optical character recognition and reads text out loud. So hopefully that answers the question. While we're still on this screen, and because it's right up at the top, I want to point out how you search for a book. It's kind of like the most obvious thing that we want to do. So I will just type in, the first book that I can think of on the top of my head, Harry Potter, because I know it's going to be like, there's a whole ton of books with Harry Potter. So, if you have a book to search, you can type in the name of the book, the author, the ISBN, just depending on what information you have and how specific you need your book to be. So, there's sometimes novels, there's lots of different versions. So, type in the title, look and see if the book you're looking for is there. Um, once you find the book you want, um, you can click on the title. It's going to give you more information. There's different views that you can see also. This is uh, this is a list view where it's showing all the books kind of in a list with their descriptions. Personally, I prefer the table view because it shows it shows more of the choices all in one screen, along with what I really need to know. So it has title, author, ISBN, because if you know the ISBN, then you can compare that identifier about the book and know that you're getting the right one. The copyright year, that can be important. The date added can be important because books, sometimes the same book has been entered into Bookshare, and the earliest one might have been entered in a low quality. The most recent one might have been entered in a higher quality with the pictures sometimes. So at any rate, then over action, that's where you choose add to a reading list. Where we're seeing question marks here, if this is because we're in a demo account and we can't really download that book, normally it would say download. But this is, just for practice. If I click on reading, add to reading list, then it is going to, I'm going to try to talk quieter. It's telling me I'm talking too loudly. Okay, so I have clicked on add to reading list. At this point, I can click the drop down and then I can select a different book. This actually funny, somebody already created a list for Harry Potter books, so I'll stick it in there. I selected it, but then I also have to click add. And then it's going to type up a screen, and let's see what it did. Oh, it just went ahead and added it to the list is what it did. So you can just go on, keep searching for books that you need. If you know the ISBN, you can type the specific ISBN, and I am gonna look for an ISBN on a book that I've got at my desk, just kind of so I can not try to make it up. So I've got one. I'm going to type in 978-089-128-829. Let's hope I did that right. Let's see if the book. Okay, so this is a great book for you all. Any of you that are helping kids with visual impairment, cortical visual impairment, I should say. So this is one of the textbooks. The right one came up. I put in, and that was the best and fastest way to find this exact book was by putting the ISBN number in. And then I could add it to a reading list. I have a pop quiz now. If one of you as a teacher wants to get this book for yourself, do you think you can do it? Let's see in the chat. Will anybody answer the question for me? Or should I just go ahead and answer for myself? Carrie Jo Wise, you think, yes, you can get that book for yourself. So Carrie, which print disability do you have? Is it visual, learning, or physical? Putting Carrie on the spot. Uh, she has students with all three. Yes, you do. But do you, if unless you personally have it, you cannot get this book for yourself to read through Bookshare. So, it's, Bookshare is only for the people who have a print disability. Sorry. I doubt your students would be wanting to read this specific book. So, okay, so that is basically how you find books, put them onto reading lists. I got to kind of check my time, make sure wow, we only have like 4 minutes left. So, oh no, 15. All right, math was not my strong point or telling time. Hopefully, Shelley will keep me on track. Okay, at any rate, I'm
You're
going to.
doing fine.
Oh, thank you, Shelley. Okay, so I'm going to go back up. At any time, any screen you're on in the Bookshare website, you click on My Bookshare along the menu tabs on the upper right. Click on that, and then it takes you back to the screen where you see the My Bookshare then on the left with all those great choices you had. Um, at this point, I want to show you a little bit about reading lists. So I'm going to click on My Reading Lists, and in this organizational demo account, it's going to show all the different reading lists that have been created um, by people coming in and practicing. Um, so you can see there's several reading lists. The one we were just now adding something to was the Harry Potter, so I'll just stick with the theme and go into that one. So I'm going to click on that reading list, and then I'll be able to see all the books that have been added to this list before. Check to see that the one I just added was there. Um, I don't remember which one I clicked, but we'll assume it's there. The thing I can see here is that I have no assigned members. That means I've made a reading list, but nobody can read the books yet. So I actually have to click on um, assigned members, and hopefully it's going to come up with my student roster, at which point I'll be able to click on, the different students that I want to have access to that particular reading list. So I clicked on a couple of them, and I'm going to add the selected members. Um, we'll see. Hopefully this will be fully functional in this demonstration account. Sometimes with a demonstration account, it doesn't really do the full functionality that you'll get with your real organizational account. So that's just kind of a disclaimer. But we can see now it does say that we have 4 assigned members, 4 titles. We can, from this screen, actually go ahead and search for more books and add more books to it. Lots of things you can do. So that's one way you can assign the books. So there's actually 2 ways that you can assign books to a reading list. One would be that you search for a book, add it to a list, and you're even able to create a list at that point. So let's see. I'm going to try to think of another book really fast. Let's see. Let's do Tom Sawyer, because I'm lacking in imagination right at this moment. So I find a Tom Sawyer book. I was trying to find one that would be in the public domain, because that actually will let me read it. At this point, I can add it to a reading list, and when this pops up this time, I'm going to show you how it actually will let you create a new list even. So I scroll down to the bottom at that drop down menu to add new. Then I click on the button that says add. Then a form field is going to pop up that will let me name my reading list and hopefully assign the students that I want to have access to that list. So at this point, let's say I'm just going to put in old novels. You can give it a description or not. I'm going to leave it alone. Under sharing, this is really critical. If I were to click private, I'd be the only person that could ever look at this list. So maybe there's some case you might want to do that, but most cases you're not going to want to do that. Member would be the person who created it and certain the people you assign only. But org would be the owners, the members, and the other sponsors in your organization. So I recommend that you always click org, because if you're creating a reading list, and let's say you're creating the reading list for ninth grade reading, um, any of the other sponsors should be able to go in and see that reading list, add more things to it, at the very least assign their students to have access to that list. You shouldn't need all the teachers in your school to have to go in and create a list with those same books on it. So, organization is the way to go in most cases. I'm going to go ahead and save this list. And at this point, once it does that, hopefully then it's going to take me to the spot where it lets me add the students, because I've made it where it is available to be seen, but it still has to be assigned to the specific students. Um, let's see. So now it just took me back to the search results. So I want to get back to my lists again. So I'm clicking again on that upper right hand menu tab that says My Bookshare, and then I'm going to go under the left hand side and click on My Reading Lists, and I'm going to find that list that I created. Takes just a second, so bear with me. And at this point, what did I call it? Old novels or something like that? Okay, so I find my old novels reading list. I'm clicking on it. Now it says assigned members 0. So I'm going to click on that. And we showed this a minute ago, but just as a refresher, just to kind of drive the point home, I created my list, but nobody can see it, or the students can't see it until I assign it to them. So I clicked on the students I want to have it, click on Add Selected Members. Then when those students go in and log in with their own account, they should be able to see those books that you put on the list for them. Any more questions at this point? Are we doing all right? Okay.
Just a reminder, Kimberly, you're at 4:23.
Okie dokie. So that means 7 minutes. Holy moly. Okay, there actually are a lot more things I want to show. So I'm going to do a super quick way. If you don't have an account yet, I'm going to log out just to show you what you would do. If you don't have a Bookshare account, or you don't know if you have a Bookshare account, you just go to bookshare.org. You can click on Is Bookshare for Me, and that will give you a bunch of information about Bookshare. Has a great video at the front. I'm going to click on Get Started, because you just want to go ahead and sign up. Click on, there's a button that says Sign Up that's red, when you scroll down a little bit. Then you get to choose Sign Up Individual or Sign Up Organization. You want to sign up organization. You want to fill out this form with information about your school. You click Continue, and if your school already has an account, the next screen you're going to see is going to be some choices. It's going to be the name and address of the account that Bookshare has, for a school in your area. And it's going to say, is this your school? And if it is, then it will tell you who that primary contact is, that you need to get in contact with to add you as a sponsor. If for some reason that person who was the designated primary contact isn't at the school anymore, then you just contact Bookshare. You go through their Contact Us form, and you let them know that you just need to get the primary contact changed so that the current special ed director or a current administrator can actually have access to that. All right, so that's an important thing. I'm going to hit the back button for a second here. So I'm sure you see this individual. You do not want to sign up individual, and you do not want to tell your parents to sign their kids up this way, because that makes it so you have no contact. You have no way to assign them books or get them books through an individual account that they did on their own. The school has the responsibility for getting them their curricular materials through Bookshare, and if you don't do it, through the organization first and get them that individual account that's linked, then it messes the whole thing up. It's not that it's impossible to link them, but it's just not the right way to go about it, and it's the school that has to do it. So, just wanted to
So,
drive that
Kimberly,
home. Yes.
with that in mind, Carmen asked a couple of questions that I think are pretty relevant to this. Does the membership follow the students if they transfer to another school district? And if not, how can you make that happen? And then also, is this available for homeschooled students?
Okay. Yes, yes. It does not follow, the membership does not follow the students. Let's say you got an organizational account or you added them to the organizational account as a member. Um, the next school they go to does the same thing. They just add them to their organizational account. But if that student did have an individual account that they got either through this process on their own or through the help of their previous school. Either way, once they have an individual membership, they've got their login, then they can get that connected. The Let's see if this will go through. Hold on. I was going to show it, but I'm afraid we don't have enough time. When you're back in that add a member, well, when you have your student added as a member and then you check the box to add an individual membership, it was scrolling down a little bit further on the page. One of the choices would be to link an individual account. So if the student goes to another school and they have an individual account, then the organization, the teacher just has to go to there and link them up to that to their own individual account. It just takes a little extra effort, but it can be done.
Great. And then also, this is available for homeschooled students as well?
Absolutely. And that gets back to where I talked about that you don't have to be on an IEP, you don't have to be on a 504, you don't have to be you are a student, so it's actually free for you, if you're homeschooled. Um, and yeah, but they would do it through an individual to be able to do that. Sometimes they'll be doing it through the LEA, but that kind of varies by district. But absolutely, individuals, adults, anyone with a print disability. I mean, this is a lifetime membership. Once you have it, you don't ever have to give it up. So, which brings me to the point that, you all, if you can help your kids get these memberships, and, now it is just a thing that will help them throughout their lives. So I really hope um, that you all will, help your kids get individual memberships. Okay, we have a Bookshare success story contest. So, do you have a student who has benefited from using Bookshare? Then please send us your success story. We're going to give away 2 iPads during this school year, but it's a success story contest. So you have to send us your story with a narrative and a photo or video of a student reading Bookshare, and a signed parental release. We have a video about this explaining it on YouTube. So look up Bookshare contest video, or look on our website. All that information is there. The first drawing you have to submit by November 10th for the November 14th drawing, and then there's another drawing, another entry period, January 15th to March 30th, for the one that we'll give away on April 3rd. It's time to end, but I'm gonna keep going for just a split second to get through this screen. We do have AT. We will train more on AIM when we have our AT feature matching and AT funding workshop November 2nd in Sand Springs. That's repeated March 29th in Oklahoma City. Get that information off of our website. The next webinar will be December 5th, AT meets IT, Chromebooks and Chrome browser. We also are going to have a Universal Design for Learning webinar, but we haven't set the date yet, so pay attention for that on the ATL listserv. And I will email certificates to everybody who was here. If I have your email address, just email me if I don't send it to you or if I didn't have your contact information. And that's it. There's our contact information. So again, thanks everybody for joining us, and have a great afternoon.